So, I saw this video on Rumble by Tommy Robinson talking about Andrew Tate. Like, he's a joke now. That video he made, he's made a fool of himself. In that he was a big deal once, right? And Andrew Tate wasn't a big deal. No one had heard of him. So I got wind of Tate, right? While since, and they say rape allegations from 2018, where he's laying it on thick now because it's like he's attempting to pull off like a limited hangout. And it seems like he's quite willing to lie for his friend. Or imagine a better day, if you know what I mean. In that video, he freely gives out a piece of information that I've been sworn to secrecy on. It's like sworn to secrecy. It's like, well, yeah, I do some counselling, and sometimes that can be sometimes it can be something that's like off the books, let's say. So I do tend to, from time to time, get some situations to analyse and asked opinions of certain situations. And one that I was asked an opinion of was the Andrew Tate situation, when Andrew Tate was no one and Tommy Robinson was someone. And to be just to scratch the surface on this guy is to find the worst thing you've ever fucking heard of or could conceive. This is a despicable pretty boy street pimp who's gone international. It's like, never mind the old trick of county lines for your drug dealing and your skullduggery, about doing it internationally. It's like, this guy's real dangerous around women. It's like, there's videos of him around beating women. Is that? Yeah, find them. Bang, bang, bang. It's like, this guy's a monster. It's like, how does this even get out into the world? Who's released this video? It's like, if he's released this video, that's bad. If somebody else has released this video, that's bad too. It's like, the thing I was being asked to keep, right, a lid on, was that Tommy Robinson had spent a weekend with this guy, with his mates, with his crew. That's what I was being asked to say. Don't put Tommy in the same room as this criminal pimp. Because it's a matter of start to ask questions about what they might have got up to together, as where he's like, he's a really good lad, I've known him for years, a mate of mine. As he's now throwing down now, saying, don't believe these lies about my friend. I know him and he's all right. It's like, well, you turn out you're just the finest judge of character in the world, aren't you? In view of the fact that in that video he like outs Carolyn Robertson as like a sextuple agent, and the whole thing be a response to Carolyn spilling the beans, as to say, Andrew Tate raped a friend of mine. And I was in the building. And something was really, really amiss. And something really bad happened. And Tommy, the shining light of, the rescuer of women in need and girls in need, he turned a blind eye to it. In that video, right, he made yesterday, he admitted to having been there. And yes, that is what happened. But he says he's then gone from the protector of women to the whore's lie. Which, they've been known to. Crimes like the ones that of like, grooming and exploitation. They're the worst crimes in the world because they have a habit of covering their own tracks. Because no one would believe it true. They have a habit of covering their own tracks in a big way. So now he's throwing the objection to all these people who've come forward, and plenty more besides. as, no, whores lie, he's a good lad, take it from me. It's down to hope, not hate, trying to silence him. It's like, no, right? When he was up to most no good, no one had ever heard of him. No one. His rise to stardom is an exploit. An exploit. And a strategy. A very, like, crazy, narcissistic pimp, G, centre of the universe, super genius on the genius juice. Master plan. It's now, so now that he's now been charged and arrested for what he's been up to. Only a small amount of what he's been up to, though. He's now well known and apparently a star, and Tommy Robinson's like fallen by the wayside somewhat. And now he's like, bang, 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 bang. My mate. So once upon a time, it was like, John, don't be putting it anywhere that Tommy Robinson is hanging around with a guy who's a pimp and a fucking massive fucking coke fiend. We don't need it to be known that Tommy is fraternising with international gangsters. And it would be good for everyone, because there's not so many people know this, John. And if you put it out into the world, they're going to know where it came from. And I could be in real trouble, because you know what? I actually face danger, and I've taken a fucking punch in the face for Tommy Robinson more than fucking once. So I'd be happy if you didn't put him in the same room as the guy and just, don't talk about it. Let others talk, let others say something, but then suddenly they've pretended that this Tate fella is a thing. And he's been pushed and he's been pushed and he's been pushed, and it's been like, I was asked, put it to me, in view of the fact that this guy has got a rack of crimes and people who are just dying to come after him, because there's nothing in this world so real as bad blood. Call it hate. Bad blood is a thing, and it doesn't just go away. A lot of bad blood for that guy in the world. You can't ignore it. Loads of people willing to come after him. Loads of people willing to pile on. And it's like, no one's even willing to entertain the idea that this guy that they've now decided is this celebrity is a animal. And there are those of us who know and those of us who don't, and those and people in the world who wouldn't know an absolute degenerate narcissist pimp. They just wouldn't know what one looked like. It's like the devil's just walked straight into your TV studio. It's like, this is the worst of the worst. It's like him appearing on your television show actually has the effect of re-traumatising everyone who's under his mind control. What? So yeah, he's a top G. He's a master of manipulation and mind control, just as he says he is. Why do we believe the one thing he says, and that is that he's the greatest deceiver who's ever lived? Why do we just believe that one aspect, that he is the biggest fucking liar in the world? Let's give him that. Let's doubt every other thing he throws, but we'll give him that he is the top G. The master of mind control manipulation, can bend men and women to his will. We take his word for it. I never underestimated what a dangerous person he is, ever. And I've been following him now for a few years. Never underestimate what a dangerous person he could be. Why? He appears to have money. Previous video I made, I'm like, he's like Charlie Manson got famous. This is kind of bad, this, as to where he's dragged a lot of people into his business. Now, as he's gone up, right, there are those in the world who had an interest in protecting certain other people by never mentioning their associations to this man. And now he's the star and they're people who really ought to be running for cover. And it's like, you son of a bitch, you're going to get fucking super arrested. And they're just going to seize your mobile phones and your computers and they'll find out what you're up to in fucking moments. As soon as you start looking at his stuff through that kind of lens, and then it's like, no jury in the world's going to find him innocent with all the self-incrimination. All the things he said. It's like, people come in, I'm like, this guy's a pimp, he's a degenerate. It's like, he's a really dangerous person. He's poison. He needs to be in prison like the rest of his type are. He needs to be fucking mouthing off to them about being the greatest. In prison. People say, show me the evidence. There's not a scrap of proof. I'm like, what about all the things he said? What about all them videos you've seen of him slapping women about? Does that not count for anything at all? It's, well, you know, it's all consensual. Really, it's like you scream and shout about this kind of treatment being wrong and not on, and it's like, oh, fucking terrible. But when someone you've decided is your imaginary friend does it, oh, well, they're all consenting people. Incredible. Incredible what I've been picking up on. Even from, you know, people I send the odd message to, they don't give a fuck. They're like, oh, well, he seems all right. They're just going at him so they can silence him because of what he's been saying. It's like, he's only been talking the way he's been talking since he's had to come up with some master plan to not go to prison. He's only been talking the way that he's talking for that long. It's like, this guy's been fucked on the hook, going down sooner or later for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's just, it's like, is anyone ever going to do anything about this guy? It's like, why? It's like, well, it's not that there's no one come forward and call the cops on him. It's like, yes, we've called the cops, but we don't know where he is and he's in another country and it'll be a big problem for us to bring him back and question him unless we've got something a little bit more concrete, evidence-wise, that he raped you. So yeah, Tommy Robinson put a video out and it's like, his thing is, he was there when the person who we're talking here about, Tommy Robinson says in his video, right, he says, I'm not going to name this person who's making these allegations. And then he says, but you'll probably have Lauren Southern coming out saying that she's been raped. It says that. It's just like that. And it's like, reverse psychology. I'm not going to do something, I'll do it. It's like, when you're really dumb and you try and trick people like that. I'm not going to name the name of the person, but you might hear Lauren Southern coming forward saying something. And his side of the story is, everything seemed fine and dandy. It's like she kissed him on the doorstep the next morning. And he was there, he can tell. But there are other people were there and they knew something wasn't right. But now he's deciding something, everything was A-OK and hunky-dory. And don't believe the mainstream media, only believe me. And then he has this weird thing with a phone call he has to someone who knows Andrew Tate better than he does. Because obviously he hasn't got access to this guy anymore, has he? He doesn't need him anymore. He networked through him. Andrew Tate doesn't need Tommy Robinson anymore. He's bigger now. He's past him. He wanted his audience. He took his audience. He swallowed him up, spat him out. He don't need him no more. So Tommy's got no access to this guy, so he's he rang up a mate of his, right, who he says knows Andrew Tate better than he does. And he rang up this guy, and there was a recording of him talking to this fella, and this fella denied it all, saying, no, he's a really good lad. And then Tommy says, like, look, right, no, so you've heard it. You heard it. He knows me, he knows him better than me, and I say he's a good lad, and he says he's a good lad, therefore he's a good lad. Tommy Robinson says that all the hallmarks, this is fucking, oh God, it's like how far your fucking mind has to leap to keep up with that guy now. He says we should all understand that Andrew Tate is being set up by the media because Andrew Tate has been highlighted, right, or has got the attention of Hope Not Hate, who Tommy has decided are like, they're just as bad as he is. Actually, they're he's kind of at war with them. They're onto him. They know what he's about, but they're hardly above board in the way that they operate. So it's like a cunt war going on. It's like cunt versus cunt. Now these cunts hope not hate. The target selection isn't. It's not that bad when they've latched onto Andrew Tate. Why have Hope Not Hate latched onto Andrew Tate? Because they were fed Andrew Tate. Like, here, get some of this poison down you. There's been, right, at the same time as he's been campaigning to become a star and an influencer, there's been a counter movement to expose him as a pimp. And, right, because yours truly is quite smart, I just encouraged it. And urged everyone else to. I mean, I got old mates on the internet who are connected with people all over the place. You've heard of a guy called Andrew Tate? And this be 6 months ago, and they say, no, never heard of him. Is there something we should know? Like, go away and go and find out how he's becoming the biggest thing on TikTok. Go and work it out for me, will you? Go and put a word around. Go and see what's going on. So my guy who's not got a dog in the fight, who's just like goes around, asks a few questions, comes back and says, yeah, well, what he does is there's more of his content per day going up on the platform than anyone else's, and it's all got his name in the title. So it's like he's farming, like grinding. So yeah, if you've got 1,000 videos up and they get like 50 views each, it's like that's the TikTok algorithm. The YouTube algorithm wouldn't necessarily pick that up, other than it would make it sort of mine a trend. But TikTok's algorithm pushes you to the top because it tells their algorithm that everyone's talking about you, or that an inordinate people are talking about you. And it's like this guy. This is I sent a guy away to find out. It's like this guy is actively encouraging his cult-like following who pay him to work for him. In this regard, they pay Andrew Tate to be able to push Andrew Tate shit on the internet. It's like scammers, right? A lot of scammers around on the internet. Fucking lot of scammers. And it's like, what are the two big scams you've seen in the last year? Like, crypto, well, NFTs, crypto, and Andrew Tate. And often the two are one. You got a guy who's a crypto scammer, and he's also passing on Andrew Tate life advice, or he's pushing his crypto and his contents become Andrew fucking Tate. So it's like one grifter loves another. This is the dangers of the world that's so desperate and insane. You fall under the influence of heroes and villains. So, like, do you know what the outcome is of this thing, this Tate thing? Because, right, it was my suggestion and what I put around that we should actually encourage this. And when he gets kicked off, because the thing is, it's like the sort of circle, because there's a circle of people who've what, let's say, compared notes in a very covert way and have conspired to expose him and to actually, there was no way to actually stop him because no one seems to care that it doesn't matter what the evidence is, doesn't matter how many people come forward, doesn't matter. The cops, they can't get him. The police that would do something about him, they're saying, look, this guy's in a different country, we can't do anything about him. So it's like, this guy's on the push, he's manipulating it to become big, he wants to be a big influencer, he thinks he wants to be a big star. And then everyone who he used on the way up is now left in his wake, but they're now his bitches. He's turned the tables on them. You'd be now expecting them, because it's part of his plan, to defend him. And when he eventually resurfaces, if things don't go right for him, he'll rail against those who didn't defend him well enough. It's like, I know it already. It's like it always plays out the same. It's like, I've known two other people in the last 20 years. I've known children who were sexual predators like him. Kids. But then I've also known adults that have been like him. So like, there were a pretty boy once who used to pick up his new girlfriend. He used to always have these beautiful girlfriends. And like, yeah, well, she's like kind of like 15. You what? And then it'd be one after the other, after the other. And he used to have a few. And it turns out that he was, he was keeping them all in a council flat, and they were prostitutes. He was lending them out. He was letting his mates go around. Right? It's like, he's got a new girlfriend. He's got a new girlfriend. Oh, she's a young one. She's a young one. She's a young one. She's a young one. It's like, in the end, right, this guy used to trade on he was an exceptionally handsome fellow. And he'd catch anyone's eyes like, shit, he could be a movie star, right? I used to see him the odd time because he was a good source for rather cheap, like, resin, cannabis. He always had drugs, so it's like, you have less grief going seeing him who runs all kinds of shenanigans than you would meeting with a stranger, because I've known this guy from the pub for years and I've known what he were up to, because it's like, I had friends at work who were like manic depressives. I'm like, what is wrong? What's gone so wrong with you, Astro? Your life's been destroyed. And she's like, my boyfriend, you just came. And it's like, all right, who's your boyfriend then? And then she tells me who her boyfriend is, and I'm like, oh, fucking hell, not him. Oh, really? It's like he's a pimp, he runs girls. And you fall in love with him, and you don't care that he runs girls. You love him so much. I'm like, oh, Jesus wept, you falling in with him. It's like, eventually, right, someone took an hammer to him and knocked all his teeth out, and now no one looks at him. When I see him one day, I say he used to be a reasonably consistent supply of like like old resin. It's like he bought a paving stone of like old, 1970s like solid weed, and he was just chipping a block off it for the rest of his life to make a wage. He seemed to have that much of that old stuff. So it turns up one day and all his fucking teeth have been smashed to a million pieces. And what do we say around here? You have to let on you've noticed, so the usual thing is to say, what happened to you? And then the right answer to that is, I was talking when I should have been listening, and we leave it at that. Smashed all his face. Like bad. Like took a hammer to his face. And he'd be like, you won't be picking up any little girls now, will you? And the answer is, no, never again. It's like, no, nowhere near it, never to be seen, gone. No longer takes part in that activity and is as meek as a fucking lamb. So there another one, used to do the same but with slightly older girls. But he was bad and renowned for slapping them around. Like bad and renowned for having a go at women. And it's one of them where he was a ride head, full of muscles, and you looked at him as to when he were raging and you're like, normal sex circumstances, not so frightened of that guy, but it'd be a matter of one day. It's like, I saw him, he beat someone with a phone once. Like, and I told a mate about it. And I'm like, this fucking crackpot who goes in this pub. I saw him beat someone with a phone. And then he says, I don't believe you. He says, you just made that up. You're just telling bullshit stories. You just sing Casino. I'm like, yeah. And he goes like, this fucking dickhead. He'd sing Casino too. And he thought it was a fucking clever idea to beat someone's fucking face with a phone. I would tell it to, nah, you're making up. I'm like, no, this fucking crazy person, he'd seen it too, and he thought he were a gangster, and he thought that were a fucking thing to do. And it's like, as a club to hit someone with them old phone receivers, fucking hell, you could hurt someone with one of them. And he reached for a phone receiver, smashed someone with it. And I'm like, didn't that happen in a movie? No, it just happened right here in front of everybody. Yeah, but that's from a movie, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's like, do you think he saw the movie? Yeah, he did. Well, one day, he got home from the pub with a fucking idiot mate of his who was hoping to get near him to get a chance to fucking murder him. He'd fallen in love or started to feel very sorry for one of the girls that he had under his spell. So, this guy got ran through, right through his body with a samurai sword he kept over the top of the mantelpiece. Someone, supposedly his best mate, took this thing from the top of his mantelpiece and skewered him right through and left him stuck to a fucking chair. It's like he was in hospital, critical condition, months. He ain't no buff ridehead now. By my understanding, he'll have died years ago. Just a shadow of a human, just never ever came back from that year in hospital or something he spent when someone ran him right through with a samurai sword. They never fully put him back together and he died in a bad way. Bad blood is real. People get murdered for stuff like that. Now, the kind of activity that has people's blood running that hot and sees people fucking murdered, right? Someone who plays games like that operating in plain sight and people defending the guy. There's no proof. The proof is there's a mountain of it. Self-incrimination. The volume of people come forward. So it's like, yeah, there's a circle of people who's like, what does this fucking guy have to do to get? Just investigate. There's plenty of people willing to talk. No one willing to listen. So it's like, so John, what do we do about this guy? It's like, we need to stop this. We need to get this guy brought to justice, and it be said, you know, if you engage in this kind of activity, you go to fucking prison. It doesn't matter what country you're in. We don't stand for this. And it's bad enough when people are doing it discreetly, but when people are advertising it as a lifestyle, that must fucking stop. You've got to draw the line somewhere as to where free speech is and what influencing might be. There's got to be a line. And it's like, it's good that someone's come along to test that, to actually challenge it. I mean, that's what he was programmed to do from the start. To push boundaries to the very nth degree as to whether we'd accept him as being the man, the G. Not understanding that he's actually telling you that he's like the best thief in the world, the best manipulator, that he can, you know, create a world and put you in it. He can drag you into his world and you can live it. It's like a guy like Aleister Crowley, who dreamt of being Andrew Tate, dreamt of being Andrew Tate. That may have been what he had in mind for himself as to what might be possible if what he knew about people was true of all. And it's not, but it's true of some. And it's like, how do we create more of them? How do we create more people that we've got power over? It's like he's got a level of manipulation skill as to where how many people coming forward. So where this guy's like, you know, these fucking new age fucking crazies of old who'd be dreaming of powers of like, he's what they dreamed of being. It's like, that's bad. It's like, that's a black magician and a cult magician, a practical pimp, a practical magician. Giving it all his symbols and his... I got one of his videos sent to me where someone was trying to point out to all the gestures he makes to suggest that he's a Freemason. And that somehow he's part of a Freemason plot. Not that he doesn't know how to kid you into going down that rabbit hole. And in that, it'd be a projection of huge power. So it's like you make him an Illuminati figure. By being like triggered by all his fucking G tricks. Wow, it was like the fucking devil showed up. The devil showed up for the end days. It's like, yeah, wow. Like the devil just fucking turned up. So it's like, what do we get on to, John? It's like, well, when the question was raised to me, what do we do about this guy? I already had the answer. And it's what? It's like, don't do anything at all. Don't oppose. It's like make him part of another plan. Make him part of another plan. Understanding that he's going to self-destruct all on his own. Because he's off on the wrong foot, because fundamentally his grasp or reach for stardom is to deflect away from the fact that he's going to prison for a lot of sex crimes that people would happily see him hang for in another world. It's like, I have an ally called like the Almighty, right? Who's got an incredible sense of humour and is actually conspiring to bring him down. What? So yeah, he's incriminated himself. He's got himself in a load of trouble. He's lied. He's kept lying. It's like his internal struggle is between himself and God has decided that he wants him dead. So in sending him down to the bottom, he's first going to drive him absolutely fucking insane. And you know, you have to understand God, you have to understand God's sense of humour and how God operates. So I can't think of a worse place to be locked up than Romania, can you? I think that could be really, you know, it could be quite a savage experience, you know, because some people say this, that you can measure, you know, the values of a society by how it treats its prisoners. Now, Andrew Tate is someone who has shit all over that country. Moved there, telling people he's moved there because the government is weak and he can evade prosecution there easily. Now, only a fool throws down on the state like that. You've just declared yourself an outlaw. You've made it in the best interest of society for that state to come down on you with all the force that it's got available to it. You've given it an incentive to restore its reputation amongst the criminal class by putting your ass in jail because they've kind of got you. It's like habeas corpus. No, not in Romania, mate. It's like you're locked up 30 days unable to mouth off while they diligently now, because of all the people who are friendly. It's like, suddenly it's like the police in the UK who've got a file on the guy be like, yeah, good on you. Here's what we know. The Americans, who appear to have been the ones to shine the light on this to get the Romanians to do something about someone who's bragging that he can flout their law. Now, when he set that in motion, I knew that he was absolutely fucking doomed. And it was just a matter of the process going through. You don't get away with that. It was just a matter of the process going through. There'd been a big mistake made. I made a video about it. It's called that they'd gone after Andrew Tate with inappropriate tools because that's what was available, where they kicked him off the social media networks. They're like, no, they shouldn't be doing that. That was wrong for him to have kicked him off social media. It's like, for kick him off for hate speech and misogyny, that's despicable. To kick him off because he's a cult leader and a criminal, and to call him out for what he is, that would have been the right thing. But they couldn't do that. They had to say it was about the things he'd said that were misogynistic and hateful. So that was the system being systematic but cowardly. The result is the same. It was a mistake for him to be thrown off social media. I was very much against it, even though it did serve to boost his profile, because that had him double down on his tactics to assault the TikTok algorithm. It's like, that guy's got a mastermind around him, you know. He's got probably half a dozen shifty cunts who talk in the meta like I do, who were spinning it for him, who were coming up with the stories, who were coming up with the narratives. He'll have a mastermind coming up with his excuses, cover-up schemes, plans, remembering the lies. If it becomes your job to remember, to keep track of someone else's lies, it's like, what the fuck have you become? Shit. What the fuck have you become? You're full-on mystic, aren't you, at that stage? It's my job to keep track of all the lies my master's told and come up with innocuous reasons why, or spin them or deflect them in different ways. You're just too stupid to understand. What do you know? Load of that shit going on around him. all of those people now are in doubt in his mind, because if he goes down, he'll accuse them people of not working hard enough to defend him. That you let him down because he went down for all the things that he's been rumbled for this time. You got it all to look forward to. It's like the guys who've invested in him, right, will see him go to trial and be humiliated with the amount of evidence against him, and probably the best thing for him to do, you know, would be to plead guilty, right? But if he pleads innocent and wants to make a show of it and go to trial, the amount of evidence they could bring against him materially, that for the minds of a jury, there's no one in the world who could win that case. Why? You just put together a load of clips of all things he said, all the videos of him slapping women around. You throw that to a jury and say, is it possible for you to believe there's charges against this man in view of the fact this is what he said and this is what he'd done? Well, usually in a jury trial, right, self-incrimination is what you want in a case like this. He's accused of being a rapist. He demonstrates a lot of rape talk and activity. I mean, the bullets, they'd send you to prison. Self-incrimination in word and deed will send you to prison in a fucking rape and conspiracy. So there's no way he can win. He's lost. He's already lost. So it's like, I've reassured a lot of people around, right, in the background, who've got a real fucking reason to beef against this guy. Because he's not done out to me, I just don't like pimps. Right? So to me, it's kind of duty. It's like, fuck no. No. I don't put up with them. In the past, I've let these people fucking operate, live even. Didn't do anything. Knew what were going on, knew that they'd come unstuck. But also had to think twice as to who his mates or his family is. You know, it's a weird old thing. If you, in like the working class world, if you've got a guy who's operating as a pimp, right? His family, right, they won't accept that he is. Because the first people that he conned are them. They're in palm of his hand, he fucking lies to them as fluently as anything, and they lie to him. You go after their son for pimping, and they come after you because there's no way that he could possibly be involved in that kind of activity. Even if everyone says that he is. First people they have on side, the first people that have been able to manipulate their own family. And they always come out, he's such a good lad. He wouldn't say nothing to no one, he was lovely. Didn't do nothing, such a good boy. So if you ever challenge people like that, their cousins, family, mates, they come at you with righteous anger, murderous. How dare you talk about our lad like that, he'd never do that. Get yourself killed. It's like, expose people like that or even take them to task, get yourself killed. But then you get one who's got the, you know, you fucked me directly. Turn up with an hammer and smash your fucking teeth out. You always live with that risk, and that's something that Tate can't escape from. There is genuine bad blood in the world. There are those in the world who'd like to see him dead or hanged or forever thrown in jail for what he's done to them and theirs. Now, that don't happen for nothing. That ain't online hate. That's justifiable people seeking vengeance. No, it's like, that don't happen accidentally. That isn't fanatical left-wing. No. There's people in the world who've got genuine bad blood and beef for that guy. Real shit. What's my suggestion to them? Don't do anything. Let this play out, because he's just gone to jail anyway. He's going to self-destruct. It's like you can mentally, I'm putting it like that, just at the right time, just the right set of circumstances will come together, and just the right application of pressure in the right place will have him lose his mind. What? Yeah, and it's only a matter of time. It seems like Greta Thunberg, everyone can agree, struck him down in the magic world. And then he was arrested. So it's like one thing be real on his mind and a distraction from the reality that's about to come crashing down. It's like that guy was tweeting out, I am the top man in the world, I am the G, I am the top G, at the same time as he was days away from jail. And at that stage of the game, as to where when they came for him in the end, they came like tooled up to, we're nicking you. If you'd have attempted to like leave the country in that, through an airport, he's a guy for private jets, isn't he? Hard to keep track of, but when they were ready, they just came and arrested him. And what the terms you arrest in that place? Well, we've charged you. You notice how they didn't, it's a matter of their system of law. It's pretty good. They investigated until they felt they had enough to charge. And then they charge. And then they hold you for 30 days, so you can't start intimidating witnesses. You can't start trying to turn people. You can't start manufacturing fucking tales. You can't start re-victimizing your old victims to get them to come out saying, I love him so much, he'd never do things like that, he's such a great fella, he's the best man I've ever known. You can't whip up his horse to start bleating, feeling sorry for him. 30 days time, they're going to have to either let him go or they're going to have to charge him with something. And in view of what's in the world, them not charging him, them not putting him on trial. He's charged her, isn't he? But, it's like them not putting him on trial. There being some shit that comes up that sees that he walks. They won't get away with that. Because, you know what, right? Wanting to kill the man who pimped out your daughter or your sister isn't just an English thing. It is a Romanian thing too. It's a Chinese thing. It's an Australian thing. It's a human thing. And you think that Romania's public would stand for some kind of whitewash, when with what they're saying in open language is to say, we're doing this guy for pimping, like lover boy pimping, like classical pimping, like make the girl fall in love with you and then turn on her, shit test her, make her come back because she's nowhere else to go, and then put her on the fucking game. And he seems to have this, he does have that notion of enjoying it, being sadistic and keeping on top of the abuse and discipline. It's like, you stand for that. I think it's the most basic test of character for analysing a public figure that many of you have been challenged with. I'll tell you that he's flat out a evil, sadistic, manipulative, lying, thieving pimp. A master criminal. Someone who's got further in his game than anyone's ever got before, because pimps don't tend to do so well when they're at large. They don't last very long. People who are discreet doing that will always exist. There'll always be, and I'm not saying that it's right, I don't agree, but there'll always be a place in the world for them, but they'll be discreet, won't they? He ain't, is he? At large. Able to broadcast unfiltered to the fucking world. Having exploited a social media platform to raise his profile. And now be deliberately shocking. Has he given, like, Muslim hardcore fucking proper good lads, has he given Muslims grounds to kill him with his blasphemy that he become a Muslim? He probably did. Just saying. It's like he tends to hit all the targets. As many as he can at once. People find it titillating, but it's a matter of, yeah, this guy is evil and he's selling you what you may want to see, and it's a matter of, and if you find this guy to be worthy or somehow enlightened, it's a matter of, well, if you want to meet more people like him, it's like, go out and do something despicable yourself and go to prison, and you can talk to those crackpots all day in prison. So my suggestion to everybody was, encourage it. Something's going to bring him down. We won't know what it is. Something will strike by lightning. Greta Thunberg did him in, like, psychologically. And then the cops turned up and locked him up for what they'd already got him for. And what would be like a force of nature tearing through the world, be put to a fucking end for a while. I wonder what treatment of prisoners in a Romanian prison is when the guy who's in there is there as a pimp, a sex offender, a paedophile, you know, that type of thing. It's like, I don't expect him to be treated very well. I don't think they'll be recognising him as the top G in prison, do you? Although, certainly, if we ever hear the prison story, it would be something a bit like Midnight Express without the sodomy. Or, you know, it could be a matter of he becomes the top G in the prison because he fucks everyone in there. What? This guy's capable of telling any fucking story in the world. He can only be a hero or a victim. Never accountable for his actions because he can do what he wants. Like, who talks like that? It's like, and it's not an act. It's like some people have got the wrong end of the stick to say, well, it's a character he's playing. It's like, no, it isn't. No, it's not. It's not. It's not a character he's playing. It's like, that's him. It's like, this is something that this is new because it's the social. This is the furthest anyone's ever got. I don't know, Obama. Obama's a Mac Daddy, he's ended up president, but not like this guy. This guy's like a street guy. This guy's a street mag who's ended up with money because he's been able to take prostitution online and international and call himself a businessman and be respected. Like, what fucking planet is this? It's like, where are we? What does, when you've reached imaginary friend status, how much do you have to do to be able to have people say no more, and turn on you and say no, I'm out. I had my doubts, but I give you the benefit of the doubt, and it turns out, yeah, I had some. There were things you said before I didn't like, and now I've come to think of it, and it's like, yeah, I think you might have tricked me. You might be a bit of a scumbag. It'd be alright to say that if you're associated with him and caught him adrift, to say, well, he tricked me where he's tricked all these others. But they're not doing. They're defending him because they're frightened, or they're now entangled or have become entrenched with him. Because to say Tommy Robinson's sort of career as an influencer, come whatever he calls himself, is coming to an end. And now, to some reason, it's like Andrew Tate is his big famous mate. Where in 2018, he was someone who nobody wanted to protect Tommy Robinson. Nobody wanted anyone to know that the two had been in the same room together because of the associations that could be made. When you had one of them running a pimp university on the internet in its original format, where he would charge you thousands to watch a series of videos he'd made about Jesus wept. Basically, how to turn out a whore, how to identify the right kind of wetware, and then how to manipulate and train a whore. He was selling that. He was selling videos. He wanted thousands for people to be allowed to watch his videos about how to make women fall in love with you so you can put them on the game. He was that guy then. Suddenly became a big shot, and it's like, I'm not saying I played a part in his downfall, right? What I am saying is, I told everybody to lay off and just let it fucking do its own thing. And it did. Ha!